I did hit record. Yay. I'm trying out the Streamlabs remote app, so I don't have to click a button on my computer all the way over there, then walk into camera frame. Anywho, good morning. Welcome back to another update here of the Skull and Saginaw Bay, Traverse City, Boardman Lake layout. That's kind of the working name. It's a bit long, but it's more or less, it tells you where we're at and what we're doing here. Nothing too fancy for this update video. The last one that I did, I was walking around holding my phone, and I don't like doing that. It just feels wrong. But I also don't like doing just this because it's just one camera angle. It's just me and my cat is a horrible cameraman. So, if you check out the link in the description below, though, I have a link to my Twitch channel where I do stream working on this layout primarily on the weekends. I just did a 4-hour live stream on Sunday, and I'm recording this. What is today? Today is September. Man, it'd be really cool if my phone would show me the date. I'm literally clicking on the time and date information. September 17th, which means I might do another stream on Saturday the 20th. It'll probably be around 2 or 3 p.m. Pacific time, which is 6 p.m. Eastern. So if you're an East Coast person, you're watching it, it'll be in the evening. If you're West Coast, it'll be, around a little after lunchtime. No exact hard set time. I'm aiming for 2 o'clock, but I also have a virtual meeting with another group that I do at like 1 o'clock, and those meetings run about 45 minutes to an hour, and so I'll be getting everything set up mid-meeting. Anywho, on the last stream we actually did get quite a bit of work done though, and I'll talk about a little bit what we got going on. So we got the yard, I would say about 85, almost 90% done. I bought the 2 right-handed switches that we needed to finish the south end of the yard, which meant I could put those 2 in and put all the track in. I've got all my feeder wires wired up on the north end of the yard. I have to do the south end still, but I'm not putting wires on every end of the yard. Basically, the south end is just going to be one set of feeder wires right here, just past the southernmost switch on the layout. I've also put some of the cork work down for the downtown area, which if you watch my stream, we'll be doing a little bit more work there. I did make a mistake. I made a mistake. Normally when I'm laying my cork, I take the 2 pieces, split them apart, and then I will lay one piece following the outside of whatever track is there. So, for example, if we have the main line going this way and we have a siding going this way, I will have a piece of cork go this way and go along the main and then go onto the siding. And then another piece follow the main. Well, the mistake I made is in the downtown area there's going to be another switch, and so I should have had the cork follow the siding. I didn't. So that cork is not going to look as good. But it doesn't matter. This is a rail line that it's on its final days in terms of operations. So things are going to look a little worn out and tired. I've also figured out what I'm going to be doing with the section behind me, and if I get out of my chair, well, I'm going for a walk. I'm going to move my chair. There's a cat toy there. This back section back here, which I know I'm out of camera frame, I just have to make I'm going to put my chair back because this isn't going to work. I'm going to make about a 12-inch extension, and so the layout is going to look like a backwards J with a little extra oomph on that J. What that's going to allow me to do is have enough room on the section behind me that when you leave the yard and you go down to Gowan. I can see the letters in my head, and I know if I look at them, I will pronounce it properly. Gowan, when you get down there, I'm going to write it down. I'm actually going to write it down on the layout. When you get down there, you have to do a runaround move to work the food processing plant at the end of the line. There's also going to be, and I know this industry existed, and I can see evidence that the tracks may still be there, a lumber yard, But I'm also looking at like all these 2-bay covered hoppers that I have, and I'm like, man, I really like 2-bay covered hoppers. Like I really like 2-bay covered hoppers. Like if I'm gonna rank my train cars in like my favorites, like 2-bay covered hoppers, they're like number two on my list of favorite train cars. Two, maybe three. Anywho, so part of me wants to find an industry to actually use them since I have a significant portion of or significant number of them. One of the problems I'm having though is I've been digging out all my old HO scale rolling stock and I realize it's all steam era, steam and like transition era rolling stock. And this layout is more to be a more modern railroad. So it's like I've got like two train cars that I can actually use and like 20 cars that just are the wrong era. So I'm gonna have to either buy a lot of rolling stock or decide that I want this layout to actually be a steam era layout. Which I do actually have a steam locomotive that has been running really well. I've got a brass 060 that I've been using as my test locomotive running through some of these switches and everything that I put in. And if it derails, I service the switch and find out why. And I have one spot in the yard that I'm not happy with, but it's not happy with. I'm happy with how it looks, but the 060 doesn't like running through there, so I'm going to try and tweak the 060 to get it to run through there. And here's some other stuff that we did to make the layout functional, or some stuff that needs to still happen. Uh, you can see I still haven't put my turntable in. I've been having problems with my 3D printer. I found a 3D printed turntable that is this. It's a little small for the one that I believe was actually in Traverse City in this yard, but for what I'm running here, I'm not running Berkshires and big boys and mountains and stuff like that. I'm running Jeep 35, an SW1, a GP38, an 060. I don't need a 120-foot turntable. A 90-foot turntable is going to work. So I have it marked out where it's going to go, but when I try to print it, the bowl, which is the first part I want to print so I can drop it in, is too big to fit in my printer. But luckily, somebody was nice enough to make a modified version of it that slices it into 4 separate pieces that all click together like Lego. So I have one of those sliced, and every time I try and run it, the print fails. So I gotta spend more than 20 minutes on my printer. Well, not 20. The last couple times it's been about an hour. I need to spend a good chunk of time on my 3D printer trying to really get it dialed in, cleaned up, maybe get a fresh spool of filament on there, and then maybe it'll print properly. A few other things. What else? What else? Oh, I solved a 15-year-old problem with my model trains. So as you see, I run the NCE DCC system. Now, if you've watched my streams and you've watched maybe some of my other videos, you know that I do want to eventually upgrade to the DCC Express, Easy DCC X, the DCC X, the Arduino-based DCC system. And I know I'm probably saying it wrong, probably got the wrong name, but you get what I'm saying. I don't have notes when I do these. I should really, I've got a pen and paper right here. I should really take notes. Anywho, as I was saying, I run the NCE system, and I've got my power cab over there, which I've had that thing for almost 20 years now, and more than 20 years now. And I have one extra old Pro cab. I don't even know where it came from. It just showed up in my house one day. And this is what I used to run my trains. And I have little 3D printed brackets right here that hold them all nice and neat. And it looks really nice, except for the power cab is in the wrong spot because if you see, I've got a work table here. The work table rolls out. When I go to roll the work table out, it smacks that one. I have to take the power cab off its holder over there. But these are nice, convenient positions because they're right where people are going to be standing working the trains, with the exception of if you're over here working this area. If I switch to the DCCX system, obviously I'll be using my phone, so I'm not going to bother putting panels in, but I'm also considering putting I have another one of these NCE panels in over there. But anyways, the problem I had solved. So one of the problems with DCC is if you get a short circuit, so you derail across the tracks, you'll shut down your whole DCC system. So one of the solutions that, makers and designers and manufacturers have all come up with are circuit breakers. And I've always used the DCC Specialties Power Shield, and I have one. I only have one. Layout's not big enough The layout's not big enough, and there's not enough people running on this layout to warrant breaking the layout up into multiple power districts. Although I could do that with my method of wiring it up. So maybe future modifications to the layout, I do power districts. But anyways, I've got one power shield on there. And I've always had this power shield, and it's never worked. But I still wire it in because like maybe I'll figure it out one of these days. The idea is, let's say I take a piece of metal and I drop it across the tracks, it should trip the power shield and not shut off the DCC system. But it never did that. And I was looking online the other day, I was sitting bored at work, and I was looking online at DCC Specialties website. I was trying specifically to find a 3D, if somebody had made a CAD model of the power shield, so that way I could 3D print a proper bracket and holder for both the power shield, and I do have the PSX-R, which is the auto reverser, which is somewhere in this pile of stuff, which will be attached to the turntable. But I couldn't find one. But while I was looking, I found their instruction manual, and it was more in depth than the manual that I had when I first got the power shield. And so I started poking buttons and wires and settings, and I fixed it. So what would happen is if I had a short circuit, the power shield would trip. And then when the power shield would go to reset, it would send a small current to check and see if there was still a short circuit, if there was still a derailment. If it saw one, it would continuously trip, and it would just stay off, right? Well, it wasn't doing that. It would shut off, send the small current to check for a fault still. It would see that current, but it would also backfeed the short into the DCC system and shut off my power cap. And I've had that problem for 15, 16, 18, 20 years. I don't know how long. Since I was in my early 20s when I got the thing. Well, Monday, was it Monday? Yeah, it was Monday night. I was playing with the layout a little bit, and I was changing those settings, and sure enough, I got it to work. It will trip, and it will stay tripped, and it won't shut off the entire DCC system. So that's a win for me. What else can we talk about in terms of layout updates? Not really much. I did clean up this bookshelf that I have under here. Right now it's got all of my construction materials and tools kind of piled on it. The plan is once the layout is more done and I don't need all my construction and scenery materials under here, all the train cars and locomotives that aren't actively being used on the layout will be stored here. So, yay. And I think that's it. I know this one's probably a little long and not as pointing the camera at stuff, but it is what it is. I didn't want to walk around holding my phone like this, and I didn't want to try and set up multiple camera angles. Thanks for watching. Like I said, check the link in the description below. I do live stream working on this layout a couple times a week, usually on the weekends. I do live stream other stuff during the weekdays. So Tuesdays, which I was busy yesterday, so I didn't do one yesterday. But Tuesdays typically are video game nights, and then Saturdays are either video games or model trains. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Laters. Did it stop recording? Did it stop recording? It didn't stop recording. Okay, I'm going to actually have to walk over there and press a button. It's not stopping the recording. Wow. Wow, we're professional. Real professional, guys.